Okay, so trig, we did sine law and cosine law. So let's recap. When we have a pair that's an angle and a side across from each other, that's a pair, then we use sine law. Then we had, if you have SAS or triple S, that's when you use cosine law. So those were the rules. A pair, sine law, SAS or triple S, cosine law. Do you think that would be a good thing maybe on our cheat sheet if you wanted to write something like that? If you want. Okay, so I have to look at this and say, what am I going to use? So what do we have here? We have a side, an angle, and a side. So that's going to be cosine law. Okay, now the cosine law formula will be on your formula sheet, right? So you don't need to write it on your cheat sheet. You would get that on my paper I give you. Okay, so it will look like this. You don't write this down, but I think on your formula sheet, this is what it would look like. So this is the formula I'm going to use. Unless you do want to write that on your cheat sheet. SAS, this formula, if you don't want, it'll be on your formula sheet. But if you do want to write on your cheat sheet that that's the one that goes with SAS, that's fine. Okay, this was a little confusing because that'll be on your formula sheet, but I have A, B, C in different places, I guess, right? So we'll just match up to what we have here. So I actually want to know C. So C squared equals 5 squared plus 9.3 squared minus 2, 5, 9.3 cos of 112 degrees. So this one is where you type it all in, and then you square root your answer when you're done. Okay, I'm not sure at this point when I taught you it, we didn't have these big calculators. So I don't know if you want to use the big calculator, that's fine, or if you wanted to go back to your other one, that's fine too. I'm just going to try to get you to check something here. There's this button called mode. I'm just going to make sure, do you see on the third line, mine says degrees are highlighted. So that's going to be important or else my answers are all wrong. Okay, so that means the calculator's set right now in degrees. So that's always an important thing on this trig. Okay, here we go. 5 squared Okay, so I can type it all in one line and I'm getting 146 and change. But then I'm going to square root my answer after. Everyone's matching, 12, just over 12. Okay, on your exam you're expected to round to 2 decimal places, so this would be 12.10. Okay, because this 9 would go up So then the 9 would turn into a 10. Okay. Which situation do I have on number 2? I would have a pair. 6.5 is across from 30 degrees. So now I'm going to go into the sine law. So 6.5 across from sine 30 equals 12 across from sine B. Okay, now do you remember how to solve these? You're going to go times those, divide by that, and then because this is an angle, what's always the last step? Do you remember when you're trying to get an angle, you're going to be pushing the inverse button. Okay, if you're on this calculator, after you do a sine 30, you're going to have to do a bracket. If you've noticed, do you notice your calculator opens up a bracket? So make sure if you are using this calculator that you close the bracket after the 30, or else it'll throw your answer off. Okay, make sure you're typing this so that we are good with your steps, because that's the biggest thing is your calculator steps here. So on angles, I'm going to say 1 decimal place for angles. So there's my angle answer. Okay, number 3. As soon as I see a pair, I'm doing sine law. Okay, this is not good. I have the question marks across from something I don't know. So that's not going to work. So therefore, what am I going to do here? The 25 can help me get this angle. So I'm going to use the 25 to get me this angle. Then I'm going to get 2 angles. I'm going to get the third angle. So I'm going to do this one second. And then I'm going to figure that side out. So I'm going to have to do sine law 2 times on this problem. Okay, so here we go. The pair, 27 over sine 68. This pair is 25 over sine of, should we just call it y? I'm going to put a y on it. Okay, same thing here. We're going to times, divide, inverse. Okay, try your calculator steps. Do they match? 59.1. Okay, I'm going to put that up there, 59.1. We were good. So now I'm going to 180 all these angles, leaving me with 52.9 degrees in the bottom corner. So I had to think what adds up to 180. Okay, I'm going to repeat this. So I'm going to use the original pair. So 27 and sine 68. That's the original pair. And now I'm going to do what across from, and now I have the angle across from it, the 52.9. So on this one, I'm going to times, divide, and that's it. There's no inverse on this one because it's not an angle. Not an angle, so I don't inverse. And then again, if you're doing it on this calculator, make sure you put a bracket after. This is, you have to do this or it's going to throw it all off. The bracket after the degree. Okay, last one on this page. Solve for the largest angle. So how do I even know which one is the largest angle? The largest angle will be located across from the largest side. Okay? The smallest angles across from the smallest side, etc. So this is, did you notice that we have a triple S? So we're using cosine law. So this is the formula that you would see. So this is the formula you would see on your formula sheet, but I won't be labeling it triple S. So if you do want to write that on your cheat sheet, that this formula instantly is the formula you use for the triple S, you can write that down. And here's the most important thing. Whatever you do, you make sure the opposite side is in the subtract spot. That's what I always do first. So even when I'm setting this up, so for instance, I'm going to go cos of z, this is what I first do, like that. Okay, I got to make sure across from the z, the 9, is in that spot. Okay, then everything else just gets filled in. So the 6 and the 8 just go into the other places, but that one has to go there. So 6 and the 8 go in the other spots. Okay, so my calculator typing will look like this. This divided by this, enter, and then cos inverse. Okay, so I have to have all the top stuff divided by all the bottom stuff, brackets. And then because we are angling, we're cos inversing. So can you see if we can all match on our typing? Okay, let's talk about the ambiguous triangle. Okay, so here's what's going on. We have angle A and side A. So therefore, that's the opposite side, which means this is the adjacent side. Okay, so I always start like this. I draw a 50-degree angle. And adjacent, that's 100. Okay, do you remember this? If this is 100, 150 is longer. And what will it do? It will form how many triangles? One triangle instantly. So that was a rule. You probably will want these rules on our cheat sheet. But so this one is the opposite is longer. The opposite is longer, one triangle. So if you want to get your cheat sheet out, you can write ambiguous. Ambiguous. Rule number 1, if the opposite is longer, one triangle. Okay, B. So I'm going to draw the unknown 42. I'm going to label this. A is opposite, so the other one is adjacent. A is the opposite because it's opposite of A. Okay, so if the adjacent is 8, the opposite is shorter. So now I'm going to have to test this situation out. Okay, so first of all, let's get the height, because I have this question on the exam where you have to get the height. By the way, a height is something that's straight up and down, which means a 90-degree angle up and down. Okay, so 8 over sine 90 equals height over sine 42. You see my pairs, 8 and 90, height and 42. Okay, I'm going to times and divide. So the height was 5.35. So where do you think the opposite side 3 will form a triangle? It won't. 3 is too short. It will not be able to reach this bottom ever because the height is the shortest you can ever go. Right? If you're shorter than your height, you're not going to be able to reach. So if the opposite is shorter than the height, no triangles. So that, if you want to write on your cheat sheet, okay, next question. Okay, so this is opposite. Therefore, this is adjacent. Okay, 2 is shorter. So I'm going to have to test. I got to figure out the height again. Okay, because we always have to, once we're shorter, we have to test the height. Okay, so I'm going to go 3 over sine 90 is the height over sine 34. Okay, now where does 2 fit into this mix? 2 is longer than this but shorter than that. So 2 will be able to reach, if I was to think about the length of 2, it'd be able to reach in 2 spots because it's in between. So if this is 3, 2 would be like that. And I can swing it around because it's going to pass that longer. You see it? Okay, so what do you want to write here? I usually do something like that, but which means if it's in between. So it's shorter than that side, but bigger than the height. Okay, so think about what you want to write on your cheat sheet. If you don't understand that, you can write something in words. It's shorter than the adjacent side, but longer. It's in between the 2 sides. Okay, D. So here's our unknown side. Ooh, this time our angle is 120. So how do we draw an angle of 120? So 120, now we're doing an obtuse. The adjacent side is 10. Does 25 work? Is it long enough? So we're going to test. Okay, obviously if this number was less than 10, it wouldn't work. Because whatever side you have here has to be the biggest side of the whole triangle, because 120 is going to definitely be the biggest angle. Okay, so I'm going to go 25 over sine 120 and 10 over sine B times divide inverse. Those are always our steps. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to see, does it come out to be a number or does it give me some kind of error? Because if it gives me an error, it's saying that 25 is not long enough. And it came out for me. It didn't say error. Sometimes it will say error, which means it's not long enough and it will not reach. Okay, E. So opposite, adjacent. So this is what I know. I know the angle and I know the adjacent side. 6 is shorter, so I have to do a comparison. If it's shorter, you have to do a comparison. So I'm going to figure out what the height is and see how does the 6 fit in. Is it too short or is it going to make 2? So it's either 0 or 2 when it's either shorter or longer. Okay, so height over sine of 36 angle, and 10 is over sine 90. Okay, so I'm going to be timesing those numbers across from each other. By the way, if you didn't know this, I'm not even doing this because sine 90 is 1 as a number, but you can do it. But just to let you know, sine 90 is 1. And I'm getting 6, exactly 6. So what are we going to get? If the opposite side is exactly 6, how many times will it hit? It'll hit exactly 1 time. So when you swing it, when it's swinging around, it will just touch right once at the bottom and then not touch again. There's going to be exactly 1 triangle. It'll be a right triangle. Okay, solving for the ambiguous one. So this is question C. So this is the question that we're going to solve for. Okay, so I'm going to start with this pair. So 2 over sine 34 equals 3 over sine B. Okay, times, divide, inverse. Okay, so my calculator is giving me 57 times, divide, inverse. Okay, here's the thing with these triangles. This angle is only half of it. Or what's the other option? Do you remember how to get the other option? You would do 180 minus. So the other option could be 123. Okay, so this is the angle across from the 3. Can you visually see across from the 3? You either have this one or this one. Can you figure out which one of them should be the smaller one? Which one should be the bigger one? Do you see it visually? Smaller. This one is bigger. Okay, now we're going to get the 2 triangles. So I am trying to look for this. 3, 2, and what? That's my triangle I'm trying to solve for. 3, 2, and what? Okay, so can you get me the top angle? It's a small number here. So I got 23 degrees up on that one. So I just did 180 minus the other two corners. Okay, now we're going to do sine law again. So 2 over sine 34, so pair. And then I'm going to do side C is now across from 23. Okay, so I need a times and a divide. So that was 1.40. There was no inverse, right? Because it's not an angle. That's not what you're doing. Okay, now, where's my other triangle? So remember what I'm looking for? I'm looking for 3, 2, and what? So the other triangle looks like this. 3, 2, and what? So I'm trying to figure out that side C, the whole long piece. Do you see my triangles? I don't want this triangle because this triangle is 2, 2, and what? That's not my triangle. Mine is 3 and a 2. Okay, I need this top angle, which means I'm looking at the other corners. The 34 and the 57 are the other corners. So I'm getting an 89 degrees at the top. Okay, now we repeat again the sine law. So I'm going to use the 2 and 34 again. That's still an option in that triangle. 2 and 34. C is now across from 89 degrees because I figured out that top angle.